Srishti, Surana, our student advocate.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the California State Assembly Select Committee for State Parks. My name is Srishti Surana, and I am honored to be here before you today. I'm a high school senior from Los Osos High School in Rancho Cucamonga in the district of Majority Leader Emeritus Eloise Gómez Reyes, and I'm here as a participant in her Young Legislator program. Today, I'll be describing my experience with the state park system and offering some ideas that I have for improvement. If you could go to the next slide, please. And go ahead and click 3 times, sorry. Thank you. A little bit about me. So I'm interested in going into law and government. I'm passionate about social justice issues on all levels, ranging from reproductive rights to environmental justice, and I'm a firm believer in the power of a good caramel latte. I've had a fascination with politics since 5th grade, when I was running to be part of Banyan Elementary Student Senate with the slogan, slide change please. Don't be twisty, vote for Srishti. Okay, so I still don't know what that one means, but that experience sparked my interest in public policy throughout middle school, high school, and here now. Next slide, please. When I first heard of the Young Legislator program, I knew I had to apply. It sounded like a great opportunity to learn about the inner workings of politics, the legislative process, and more. And I was right. It's a wonderful program that has given me hands-on, unique, and invaluable experience to the intricacies of politics in California. I've connected with students from across the district, been offered opportunities just like this one, and learned all about different aspects of government, including higher education, law, civic engagement, and of course, our cherished state parks. Slide change, please. From relaxing at San Jacinto as a 2-year-old to fond memories of spending a day out at the lake with family and friends, I loved the state's park system. My parents always made sure that my brother and I spent time in nature, learning to truly appreciate all it has to offer. And the state park system was a beautiful and convenient place to do just that. I always thought that our state parks were an amazing place to let us unwind and reconnect with nature. It was great for recreation and lakeside retreats. However, I hadn't really thought about how much of a tremendous and underutilized resource it was until we took a trip to Silverwood State Park as part of the Young Legislator program. This experience transformed my understanding. With the help of Ryan, an interpreter and educator, I learned about parts of the park that I had never really thought about before. They guided us through the State Water Project and exposed us to diverse career avenues, such as becoming an environmental scientist or a park ranger. He led us on a captivating hike, all while educating us on the Surana indigenous people who once thrived on the lands of Silverwood, and taught us about all the conservation efforts in place. I marveled at the activities that were available, such as water skiing or camping or boating, and plus, I left with a pretty cool backpack. The visit to the park ignited a deep appreciation for the state park and all that it does. They have the potential to preserve our natural heritage and create invaluable opportunities for learning. They're tools to uplift, tools that should be used more widely. I truly believe that more students and groups should take a trip there. There's so much to learn and enjoy. Next slide, please. And go ahead and click 3 times, sorry. With all this in mind, I have several ideas to enhance the state park. First, increase accessibility and affordability. Second, increasing the historical and cultural knowledge available around the park. And finally, enhancing public safety. Go ahead and click, please, just once. Thank you. To my first point, learning about the park and its different aspects was such a great opportunity and experience for me, and I want to go ahead and expand that to other groups and children. I propose offering discounts or free day passes, such as all of the programs that all of you guys said, to elementary schools or organizations. There aren't that many programs available right now, and if there are, a lot of the youth aren't currently aware of them. For example, the California State Parks Library Pass would be a great opportunity to rent a trip to a state park. but not many people are really aware of it. Spreading awareness to nonprofit organizations, educational groups, and schools about field trips and opportunities to go learn about state parks would increase the number of groups that go, potentially inspiring future conservationists and fostering a love for the natural world. It'd be a fun way for kids to get involved and further their studies of biology and environmental science, all while having a ton of fun. Next, please. Thank you. Next, I want to talk about the knowledge available around the park. Since I was young, my dad and I have always read those informational signs signs together. The ones that are on hikes or viewpoints that tell us about the lifespan of a western scrub jay. However, during our trip to the state park, I didn't see many of these signs. I believe that a new project to implement more of them throughout the park, on hiking trails, near lakes, etc., can enhance public knowledge and understanding of different aspects of the park. For example, during our trip, our interpreter Ryan showed us different animal pelts and told us all about them. He told us about how there was a singular otter that lived in Silverwood State Park and how to deal with bears. But by providing these signs, it would provide visitors with insight into all of this. It would provide visitors with insight into the indigenous community, into different plants and animals that are around the park. And it will give a young girl a nice bonding experience with her dad. And finally, next slide, please. Thank you. And finally, increasing public safety. As we went around the park, we were informed that 3 rangers were currently employed at Silverwood State Park. I believe that a larger ranger presence, particularly closer to populated areas, could enhance visitor safety. Recognizing the unpredictability of nature, more rangers would ensure visitors feel more secure during their outings. Now, I was curious about the public safety aspect of the park and how it was usually dealt with. So I decided to go ahead and inquire about it after our trip, how the medical facilities and responses to emergencies. What I was told was pretty basic, things you would expect. Park rangers and aides had a radio channel they communicated with, rangers went through years of training, etc. But what shocked me was that there were no medical facilities inside of the park. Only a firefighting training nearby if something were to happen, and the nearest hospital being a 30-minute drive away. I believe that in an emergency situation, this could be harmful and detrimental to the patient. By developing comprehensive emergency plans, providing training for park staff, and most importantly, designating at least a basic medical facility in the park, we could ensure visitor safety and help more people. All in all, I truly believe that state parks are a fantastic way to protect open space, help fight climate change, create health, recreational, and educational opportunities. Our trip to Silverwood State Park was absolutely eye-opening. Thank you to Majority Leader Emeritus Gómez Reyes and Mariah Brunner for setting this trip up for us. State parks are hubs of education, recreation, and conservation, and I appreciate all of your effort in helping to preserve that. Thank you.
And in fact, I think you have a booklet that you want to.
Yeah, are they?
Don't throw it to her. One of the things that the students did while they were there is they took turns being the photographer. And they put together a booklet, and we'll make sure that I think they're.
Oh, are they over there? Yeah.
Okay, make sure that you all receive those. I love the photos, and I loved each one of them provided a quote about their experience, and I think that was very good. Thank you so much, Srishti.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kindley, the diverse population that you're serving, people who have benefited specifically on the route to parks, we really appreciate that. On the grants, and I know you talked a little about this, is there something that you want your grantees to share with you that is you would consider the most important point?
We're always looking for the transformational stories and that willingness and the hook that they want to go back. that this is the opportunity that's creating their future connection to these places. And it's why we've started to connect that route to parks approach with the career pathways piece. Because it's not just that we want people to visit, we want them to see themselves in these places as potential stewards in a very official capacity as well. So we're often looking for what's the next step after you had this experience, right? What will bring you back? Was it a story that you heard from a state park interpreter? Was it the hike that you took, right? We heard some of that today, right? Even from our young legislator.
Yes.
And so we're looking for the hard data, but we're looking for the stories, because that's what we can unpack, we believe, to understand how that next level of engagement happens.
Thank you. Sonia, I first want to thank you for taking the trip up here to Sacramento as well. You've had quite a trek also getting up here. And promoting the outdoor equity, so important, obviously one of the important issues that we want to discuss. And you did offer some suggestions. What would you consider as, of all that you've talked about, you talked about some of the barriers and you've already been working towards them. What would you consider the one that, if you had only one issue that you'd be able to push forward in legislation, what would that one be?
It's a difficult.
She says, do not limit me. The top one, just the top one.
I would say more funding for these outdoor education programs and access. I think that is, every year we come back at the legislature and have to fight for crumbs every time for program. And unfortunately, it can't be funded through a bond. And I know there has been some discussions about that, but these are critical educational programs and experiences that, I remember, just listening to our youth speaker, even if at an early age, if it's just one experience that one nonprofit organization can do with just a bit of funding, and assistance, that makes a huge impact. I think the legislature should be able to come up with some creative solutions to help fund these programs. So I hope to work together with you to come up with some of those solutions.
Wonderful. I sit on sub 4, so a lot of those requests come through. Assemblymember Quirk-Silva is already thinking, how are we going to get more money in here? And I know that when Srishti was saying, this is what we need to make it better, cha-ching, cha-ching, for everything that she's suggesting. But this is so important, because if our students are saying this is what we need, we really have to reevaluate. Srishti, I'm so glad that you were here. It's a privilege to have you as a constituent, as one of our young legislators. One thing that you think should be, you had a whole list, it's costing too much.
That I did.
One thing that you think would be the most important thing for the youth, to have them become more interested in our state parks.
So I think the thing that would be really, really helpful is, I was doing some research actually on state parks and national parks, even globally. And I found this thing in Canada and the UK where they're doing something called a park prescription pass. So this is really interesting in that if a patient were to go to the doctor or something like that and say, hey, I'm dealing with a lot of stress, I'm dealing with a lot of anxiety, and we know right now we have such a huge mental health crisis, especially with young populations, with, even my peers. I see a lot of my friends and stuff dealing with a lot. And if my friends and a lot of the youth population were to go to the doctor and say, I'm dealing with this, this, and this, the doctor would be able to give them a little prescription that's a one-year park to their parks, to the state parks.
All right. Ms. Quirk-Silva, and I think these suggestions that you all have given, these are things that I think that we need to work towards. You all are the experts. We and some of my other colleagues who are also members of this select committee want to know more, want to do more. And I think that information to the rest of the public, and then resources back to our state parks and to those who support our state parks, I think is extremely important. I want to thank you again so much for taking your time to be here with us and providing us information. There's so much more that you're going to share with us, and I guarantee you we'll be calling you, because as we look at legislation for the future, or as we look at budget requests and getting those in and finding opportunities for grants, we've got to make sure that we get those prescriptions from the doctors, and then we're able to fund them. Again, thank you all so very much.